brief preview of what we have coming up. We have invited all 4 members of the legislature's quadrant, which is the leaders of the House and Republican Senate and the House and Republican Democrats to have a conversation here about their caucus priorities. And we're going to start the first one of those programs right now with Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks from Grand Rapids and Senator Kevin Hertel from St. Clair Shores with Samantha talking about Senate Democrats' priorities. So take it away.
Yes, hello. So I am actually the state Senate reporter for MERS News. So you all, unfortunately or fortunately, have to deal with me quite a bit. Sure. Senate Majority Leader Brinks, I have a question I've been dying to ask you. You kicked off this year doing something really bold. You filed a lawsuit against Republican House Speaker Matt Hall. Do you have any regrets when you think about just how dysfunctional that relationship is now perceived in the public eye?
No, I don't think that we should have regrets about asking the Speaker of the House to follow the Constitution. So, you know, the substance of what we were trying to get done is still valid. And I would think that as adults in the legislature that we would be able to find ways to work together. There certainly are plenty of common issues that we have an obligation to solve on behalf of the people of Michigan. And as the governor has mentioned, she was sued so many times by folks of the opposite party in her first term, yet she managed to find productive ways to get things done. I worked for many, many years in the minority, getting things done with the majority party. I know it's possible. I'd just like to see that happen.
So what you're saying is that a Lansing lawsuit is just a natural thing?
Lansing lawsuits are not that unusual. I would certainly like to not have had to bring that lawsuit, but again, the Constitution is important and we need to follow it.
This is a question I'll have for both of you. Do you all feel like Lansing is genuinely dysfunctional right now?
Look, I served 6 years in the minority, and so sometimes you have to find ways to get around the noise and all of, you know, I think the issue you just talked about. Things like that are necessary at times, and you have to put those issues aside in order to do the work of the people. And so we can do both things, right? We can deal with the issues where we have differences and there's contention, but also focus on the issues that we need to find solutions to. And so with a leader like Leader Brinks, I think you've seen somebody who's willing to sit down and solve really tough issues, but that takes 2 people. That takes people willing to work together. We have to be able to do that.
House Republicans have a road funding plan. The governor has a road funding plan. Are we going to see a Senate Dems road funding plan anytime soon?
We've had lots and lots of really productive conversation. We're trying to put the pieces together that will create a plan that could actually get through the legislature. It's not enough just to have a plan. And it's not enough to even pass things through one chamber. If it's not bipartisan and bicameral, it will not be successful. So what we're lacking here is a genuine conversation between the House and the Senate, and that needs to happen in earnest if we are going to get to a solution. It also needs to move alongside the budget because the budget implications are so significant. And so until we have productive conversations about both those things, it doesn't matter if there's a plan on the table if it never materializes.
Do you think road funding can be done without creating new arteries for state revenue?
I think the governor was accurate in saying that it's going to be really difficult. She may even have been stronger, saying it should involve both revenue increases as well as tightening our belt and finding savings or cuts in the budget. I think that's most likely accurate in order for it to be successful without cutting things that folks in Michigan, frankly, really rely on.
So Senator Hertel, I have to ask you this. I saw you getting very, very fired up about Public Act 51 during the road funding conversation. Where are your thoughts right now when it comes to that?
You know, this has been an issue that I've worked on my entire time in the legislature. Back when I was in the House, in a bipartisan way, legislators from Macomb County came together, and we were very honest about the fact that we think we need to see changes to how that formula works. And so for me, that's a really important part of the conversation. I think we should make sure we have a formula that is functional, that helps the areas of the state that need it, if we're going to put more money towards roads in the state.
One of your big proposals right now for Senate Dems is the child care tax credit. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, we announced it earlier this year. We've introduced the bills now, and we hope to get them moved and over to the House. You know, As a parent who has a child who will finish daycare or preschool in the fall here, I know exactly what it's like to have those bills and the challenges that it creates for young families across our state. The challenges to buying a house and to be able to afford just the basics to put food on the table. So I think it's incredibly important, and it goes along with the lines of how we've looked at how do we create tax relief for the people who actually need it across our state. We did that last session. I think we can continue to do that this session with these child tax credits.
And who are the families that qualify?
But so there's an income threshold in the bill. I believe it's up to about $120,000 a year. Don't quote me on that. I'll go back and check it. We did change it to make sure more families qualify across the state. But I do think we have to have this conversation through the committee process and with the House, because they have a version as well that they talked about, which I think is a good thing, right? I think we all recognize that there are families across our state that are challenged with these expenses, and we should find ways to help them. It is extremely expensive to raise a child. $20,000 in the first year of a child's life. That is a hit to any family, and we want people to be able to do that, start a family, grow here in the state of Michigan, stay here in the state of Michigan, be able to afford to do it.
So I get when I ask questions like this, a lot of people answer, why can't we just have both, right? What would you prefer, though? Would you rather go all in on something for accessible childcare, or would you rather get this roads fund deal done?
That's a false choice, I would say. And I would also say that, I thought you said, why can't we have both? I thought you were maybe going to go the direction of finding more ways to support families, and I think that is what we proposed with the building blocks package of bills about supporting new families with a new baby, making sure that at that moment where you experience maximum economic insecurity as a family, that the support is around that young family welcoming a new baby into their household. But we also have bills that would, as part of the package with the child credit, support new moms with RX Kids, so that first year that provides key support there. We also have cutting red tape for daycares. We have bills that would help expand the TRI-Share program that employers and employees and government work together to tackle the child care crisis. So all of that should go together.
One of the big components of the budget you all have voted out is tariff relief for businesses, for farmers. Why is that something that you're very, very, very fired up about, and why so?
Yeah, the chaos out of Washington, D.C., the tariffs are just the main front stage kind of example of the impact that can have on Michigan. Autos, ag, even the price of lumber impacting housing. Those are all big, big issues for us in Michigan and can cause incredible harm. And we haven't even talked about the impact on actual households when you talk about all of the basic daily things that you have in your life, that prices are going up, in some cases, over doubling. So it's incredibly important that we have a plan and that we are presenting a steady, stable budget in a consistent way. And that includes the timing of moving that budget, by the way, but so that families know that they can count on us to support them when they need it. We can't predict the future, obviously, but we need to do as much as we can to make sure that we are there for our Michiganders.
Senator Brinks, will this be the year that your dreams come true and we get Prescription Drug Affordability Board done?
I would love to say yes. It's one of those things that is important to every family. We know that people are very, very concerned about the cost of their medications. We know that people depend on them. People with chronic conditions pay some of the highest prices and some of the largest amounts of their budget for prescription medications, and those are the things that are able to keep them working, keep them going to school. So chronic illnesses in particular are things that are debilitating when it comes to productive behavior.
Senator Hertel, you're in one of the most competitive battleground districts in our state, and I've seen you go all in on PDAB. Why did you choose to do that? You're doing town halls, you're doing press releases on it.
Well, you live in the district, so you know it very well. One of the most aging populations in the state, as well as middle-aged and young people that also are faced with high prescription drug costs. This cost hits everybody across the board. And we did a town hall just a couple months ago where I think we had over 80 people in the room. You were there as well, I believe. And you heard the stories from people about how this is impacting them. Seniors who are cutting pills in half simply because they can't afford the full course of their medication. It's not good for their health. It's not good for our economy here in the state of Michigan. It's hurting people, and we need to make sure we're doing everything we can here as a state to fix it.
What are your policy goals before people leave for summer recess in Lansing? What are the top things that you really want to get done beyond just the budget?
Right, obviously the budget is job one at this point, but anything we can do to lower costs. So PDAB is one of those things. Working on a couple of other bills in terms of housing. We've already passed a number of things supporting young families with the maternal and child health care package momnibus. We've got, help me out here, Kevin, we've got
criminal sexual assault
Yes, we
statute
just
limitations
passed
that went over to the House that are incredibly important for many people here in the state.
And of course, FOIA. No list from the Senate Democrats would be complete without talking about FOIA. Transparency has been a hot topic in both chambers. Really, FOIA is the gold standard. There's no reason we can't join the rest of the nation with more transparency about what happens under the dome in Lansing.
But what are you, I think as we kind of approach the end of our conversation, now that we enter the heat of budget negotiations, what are your non-negotiables? So what are you willing to fight to the death for?
I think, when we talk about road funding in particular, fitting that into the budget is a huge task, and we are more than willing to have that conversation. But we will not be able to fund roads at the expense of things like education. We've worked incredibly hard. I think that you will hear as a theme throughout the week this week from business leaders as well as educators and nonprofit community that education is incredibly important. So if we intend to fund roads, we can't do it by hurting education. We can't do it by taking away critical services that are things that people depend upon, whether that's for housing or human services kinds of things. So those are some of our hard lines in the sand. It can be bipartisan. It must be bipartisan. And I think that I'm optimistic that it's possible to get there. What we need are willing partners to sit down and really negotiate those difficult things.
Do you have any non-negotiables, Senator Hertel?
I really am focused on getting the budget done. I've heard from school districts across my district and across the state that it is critically important to them. I have school board members that are worried about passing their budget. That really does impact so many folks on the ground, including teachers all across the state. I think it's only fair that we tell them exactly what they're going to have to work with in the next year. We've been able to do that for many years now. I'm hopeful we can do that again.
Senator Hertel, Senate Majority Leader Brinks, thank you so much
It's
for
a
our
pleasure.
first ever Live on Mackinac.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.